You are now watching The Meech.
Genesis does what Nintendon't, a phrase that's synonymous with the Sega Genesis. It was often used during the fierce rivalry between the Genesis and the Super Nintendo. Personally, I would just say Donkey Kong Country, and the battle would have just ended there. But regardless, the Genesis often did what Nintendo didn't. Of course you had games like the Sonic games, Streets of Rage, Altered Beast, Echo the Dolphin, Rice Star, and many other classics. But what Genesis was missing are Mario games. Mario games alone were an incentive to get a Super Nintendo, but the thing is, it wasn't too common to have multiple consoles at that time. It was either Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis. Otherwise you'd be dead broke and you couldn't picture this. But what if I were to tell you that you can play Mario games on the Genesis, as there is a solution? Ladies and gentlemen, these are genuine fake Super Mario games. None of these games were made with Nintendo's permission and were primarily made for either developing countries or for those wanting a Mario fix on the Genesis. The Super Mario Bros. Trilogy is considered a classic, but have you heard about the lesser known Super Mario Bros. Quadrilogy? In this special installment of Trash or Treasure, we'll be taking a look at the Mario games that didn't receive the Nintendo seal of quality, though considering the Nintendo Switch eShop, that's probably a good thing. First up is Super Mario Bros. Or Super Mario World? The title screen says Super Mario World, even though it's clearly based on the All-Stars version of Super Mario Bros. Actually, never mind, it is Super Mario Bros. When a game doesn't even have a consistent title, you know it's gonna be good. The game itself might seem like nothing more than a port of Super Mario Bros. From All-Stars, but you'll realize quickly, looks can be deceiving. You'd expect to be able to jump on enemies, but when you do, Mario gets hurt. And instead of power-ups, there's a health bar. Once you notice the absurd amount of crates and levels, that's when you'll realize the primary gameplay mechanic is picking up crates and throwing them. So it's definitely more similar to Super Mario Bros. 2 than any other Mario game. The levels themselves are directly from Super Mario Bros. And the Lost Levels. They're not designed to accommodate the crate mechanic, making them incredibly easy. But unlike most bootleg games, the controls are quite good. The collision detection can be off at times, but the physics are really solid and the controls do what you'd expect them to. You use C to jump, B to pick up and throw crates, and A to throw the more powerful fireballs you'll find in levels. The crates and fireballs are the only ways to take out enemies directly. There do exist some power-ups in the game, such as the invincibility power-up oddly being a sunny side up egg, but you just go through the enemies with those. So for most enemies, even if the behavior is different, you can just take them out with one throw of a crate or a fireball. That is until you get to the bosses. First up is Bowser. I gotta say, I like how Bowser is actually large and looks somewhat menacing, though I don't think I want to know what's going on with the hand thing. I really hope he's not playing an eShop puzzle game. Even though the fight is pretty easy, it's actually pretty fun. You'll need to throw crates at Bowser and jump between the platforms, similar to something like Hotel Mario, but in a good way. But once you clear the second Bowser fight, this is where things get weird very fast. I always appreciate new locations in Mario games, and this bootleg is no exception. Reminds me a bit of Yoshi's Island. Unlike the Mario levels, the ones here are actually designed around the crate mechanic and have an element of challenge. They're well designed and are way more fun to play. I'm really interested to see how a Bowser fight could play in this type of environment. I'm sorry, but what on earth is this? When you first see the pig boss, he looks horrifying, but actually analyzing him makes him even more scary. He's wearing a tracksuit, has some weird jetpack thing on him, and a watering can that only pours out a single drop of water. This is really weird, and after you defeat him, it keeps on getting weirder. Even though the level design remained mostly good, the one question I had consistently while playing the game, what on earth does this have to do with Super Mario Bros.?
That had nothing to do with the game!
Not only are there no Mario enemies after the second world, but they don't even resemble Mario enemies. You'll meet all kinds of oddball creatures that don't even look like they belong in a Mario game. And most of the locations in the game are anything but Mario. Though to be fair, the world themes are very cool, especially with World 6 being an entire world themed around Halloween. Reminds me of the Pumpkin Zone from Super Mario Land 2. Then it finally dawned on me. throwing crates, acorns for health? In true Super Mario Bros. 2 fashion, this is actually a hack of a bootleg version of Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers called Squirrel King. It even has a co-op multiplayer from that game. So essentially, the developers put together something to resemble a Mario game at first glance, only to trick players. I will give credit where credit is due. At least they did include Mario elements instead of just swapping out the main sprite of the character with Mario. This is absolutely not a Mario game, but despite that, it's actually pretty fun. The level design is mostly good, and the presentation is excellent. It's hard to believe that it's even a bootleg game considering just how good the visuals and music are. That is until you encounter some of the levels in World 5, some of the most infuriating levels I've ever played in a while. And of course, since this is a bootleg, it does have some glitches here and there, but it's all worth it because after you beat World 5, you'll reach that Halloween world. It's an absolute trip of a Mario game, but it's definitely worth playing. You can call it Super Mario Bros., you can call it Super Mario World, you could even call it Super Squirrely Boy King 1996, but for me, this is being called a treasure. Apparently this game did well enough to warrant a sequel, or 1,997 other sequels. Next up is Super Mario Bros. 2, 1998. Considering how the direct predecessor to this game was, I don't have very high expectations, but at the very least, could this be something interesting? Just like Super Mario Bros., this game uses the All-Stars version of Mario 1 for the presentation. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, it seems that every single Mario bootleg or fan game uses the art style of that game. Super Mario Flash, Mario Forever, these games, there's too many to even count. The game itself might seem like nothing more than a port of Super Mario Bros. From All-Stars, but you'll realize quickly, looks can be exactly how they seem, because that's exactly what it is. Even though it's called 2, it's a port of Mario 1. For a game as classic as Super Mario Bros., you would think this would be good, and considering the blast processing of the Genesis, it seems the Genesis would be able to handle it just fine. But unfortunately, the blast processing is used in the worst ways possible. The best way I can describe the game is that it's essentially like if Charlie Sheen made a Mario game. The speed of the game is insane. There's no room to breathe as enemies move incredibly fast, and Mario does as well. His walking speed is what dashing should be, and the dashing is essentially Sonic. This could have been maybe fun if the controls weren't so broken. When you jump, Mario moves all over the place and there's no momentum. When you do finally get used to the awful physics, all you're left with is a crappy version of Super Mario Bros. Without anything bizarre or intriguing. Maybe it's interesting hearing Peach say thank you Sonic when you beat the game, and that's because there's also another version of this game called Sonic Jam 6, which essentially replaces Mario with Sonic. Essentially, reverse Somari. You would think that maybe the presentation could be cool. How cool would it be to hear some Genesis renditions of Super Mario Bros.? But no! The presentation is bad too! The visuals and music are just worse versions of the SNES ones, and there's next to no redeeming aspects when it comes to this game. It's probably better than nothing if this was your only Mario game, but it is absolute trash. There's nothing bizarre or funny about it, it's just bad. Don't even bother with it. These games were released during the heyday of the Genesis in 1996 and 1998 respectively. For those who wanted to play Mario games but only had a Genesis, these made sense to release. But as it turns out, the Sega Genesis is still quite popular in some countries. Of course you have Brazil where Sega is so popular that there are actually a few exclusive games to Brazil for the Master System and Genesis. But to my surprise, Russia still has a market for Genesis games, though I should say Mega Drive. Take a look at this. This is Mario 3 Around the World, released at some point in 2011. The fact that this has packaging and got a retail release is insane. So insane that I did a full retrospective covering the game. Unlike the first two games we looked at, this is a 2D Mario game made from the ground up. Assets are used from a variety of games, rather than just Super Mario All-Stars. And you know what? It actually would have been a good game if the physics weren't so bad and the level design was better. It's trash, but it could have potentially been saved. I may have covered Mario 3 Around the World, but there exists a very similar sequel, Mario 4, A Space Odyssey. This was released around the same time in 2011 or 2012, and just like Mario 3, this was made to be sold in stores. This came before Super Mario Odyssey, so it's clear Nintendo ripped this game off. Alright, Igor and Dimitri, now's your chance to pull the reverse Uno card and give Nintendo a C&D. Just like Mario 3, Space Odyssey has a story. Mario and Luigi were watching the stars only to be disrupted by a group of aliens, which resemble the Shroobs from Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, and it's up to Mario and Luigi to stop them. The fact that a bootleg game has the most interesting story for a 2D Mario game since Super Mario Land 2 speaks volumes. Just like Mario 3 Around the World, this is a 2D Mario game made from the ground up, and as I said before, Mario 3 could have actually been good if the level design was better and if the physics weren't so broken, because the theme of globetrotting is really cool and the presentation is excellent, especially with the soundtrack. The question is, did Dimitri and Igor learn from their mistakes for the sequel? Shockingly, yes. The level design in Mario 4 Space Odyssey is not only better, but the physics are drastically improved. They're not perfect by any means, but they are far more tolerable than they were in Mario 3. I remember playing the game on an emulator having similar physics to 3, so I'm assuming the copy I have is a more recent release. There's also a lot more variety with the world themes as well. Most are typical Mario locations, but there's this really bizarre laboratory world with Shroob enemies. The fact that a bootleg game not only has original locations, but also references to Mario and Luigi speaks even higher volumes of Nintendo's insistence to have 2D Mario be as generic as possible. There are also quite a few features not found in 3. There's a 2-player mode where one player controls Mario and the other Luigi. Now sure, Luigi looks incredibly weird and he walks like Pigpen, but having Luigi playable in any capacity is always a win. The multiplayer is like how it was in Super Mario Bros. Players will alternate after losing a life, so if someone is incredibly skilled, the second player could end up watching their friend beat the game. The multiplayer should have been structured to have players alternate between levels, or better yet, having co-op, but it's surprising to actually see regardless, and unlike actual 2D Mario games, coins are useful. There's a shop you can access on the pause screen that offers power-ups, extra lives, and even continues. You'll definitely want those extra lives because in true Russian Mega Drive spirit, the game over screen is horrifying. But because the physics actually work, it's not that difficult of a game. There is challenge, but not really due to the physics. It seems we have found a near-perfect genuine fake Mario game. But unfortunately, there is one glaring issue. The game is supposed to have a final boss, being a bizarre dark fawful thing. Okay, bosses for Mario and Luigi? Nintendo has officially been put to shame. Or they would've if the game didn't reset before approaching the boss. At the end of the last level, you would fight him, but in the copy of the game that I have, it just resets to the beginning when you reach the end of the last level. But regardless, Mario 4 Space Odyssey managed to correct the major issues found in Mario 3 Around the World, and it provided a pretty fun experience. It's definitely a treasure and definitely worth checking out, or if anything, listening to the awesome soundtrack. Even though bootleg games have a reputation for being of poor quality, at least they're not Nintendo Switch Sports. Nah, in all seriousness, many of them are of the quality of Super Mario Bros. 2 1998, but it's always a treat to find out some of them are indeed hidden gems. I'd recommend at the very least checking out some of these games, primarily Super Mario Bros. Squirrel King and Mario 4 Space Odyssey. Our bootleg odyssey will continue with Mario Kart Origins Refueled, bootleg Mario Kart games. If you're aware of any Mario Kart bootlegs other than Kart Fighter, GBA Mario Kart, or any of the Famicom ones, I'd love to know. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments and keep calm and dada on.